go to business now with Madison Reedy, who's joined me in the studio. We're wearing matching white shirts if you're just listening in.
All three of us are, actually.
Yeah, actually, checkpoint uniform. So, Maddie, in the business news, liquidation of Halifax. You've got a bit of an update.
Halifax is the online trading platform that hit the wall late last year when its Australian parent, Halifax Investment Services, went into administration, and then its local New Zealand subsidiary followed in its footsteps. They're now both in liquidation. Now, thousands of investors, both in Australia and New Zealand, their money remains frozen in their Halifax accounts. They're holding up to about $220 million, but $20 million is missing. We already knew this. Now, this is because directors of Halifax in Australia commingled the funds between Australian and New Zealand investors, and they actually did use some of it to keep the business afloat too. Now, interestingly, in the past couple of days, the director and owner of Halifax in Australia, his name is Jeffrey Warboys, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission has banned him from providing a financial service for the next 6 years. Now, they say that's because he lacked integrity, lacked professionalism, and was incompetent to the point of being likely to actually break laws. Now, this was in his role as the chief executive of another investment firm called Australian Mutual Holdings, but it is not good news for investors in Halifax. I spoke to the liquidator of Halifax today. His name's Morgan Kelly. He's based in Sydney. He confirmed to me that this is the same Jeffrey Warboys who runs and owns Halifax, and he said that he's actually found similar issues related to Mr. Warboys in his own investigation of Halifax. Now, he's told authorities in Australia, he's told ASIC of that, and he's also talking to its equivalent, the Financial Markets Authority here. Now, when I asked him for an update on the liquidation process, it went into liquidation in March, so it's been a couple of months. He said that he's actually preparing case studies on investors. So some investors are in better and worse situations, depending on whether or not their money was or wasn't commingled with those funds, or whether or not it was used to float the business. Now, he's going to prepare case studies on them and actually give them to courts both in New Zealand and Australia, seeking an order on how to disperse the repayments to them, whether or not he should treat them all the same and give them a flat payment to assume that all of their money was commingled, or whether or not some should be reimbursed directly. He expects that to be filed within about the next 3 weeks.
Wow, that sounds complicated. Okay, so we got a monetary policy statement which is out next week. And how much attention is that going to get?
This one should actually get quite a lot of attention. The monetary policy statement is coming out on Wednesday. It's being announced in Wellington by the Reserve Bank Governor. Now, the market is expecting the Governor and the Reserve Bank to actually cut the OCR, the official cash rate, which is wholesale interest rates, on Wednesday. They're expecting a drop by at least 25 basis points. Now, that would take our historically low interest rate at the moment, which is 1.75%. It would drop it down to 1.5%. Now, the reason the market is expecting this is because all signs are pointing to a slowing economy at the moment, and that's essentially setting the scene for a rate cut. So yesterday we had those weak labour market figures. We've also had weaker than expected inflation figures lately, also still low business confidence and flat consumer confidence too. Now, the Reserve Bank has been, as the Governor puts it, watching, worrying and waiting to make a move for the past 2.5 years. So we may likely see a move finally on Wednesday.
All the W's.
We will give you all of the updates of that next week.
All right, so as we get to the end of the week, how are the markets looking?
The NZX Top 50 Index is down just 0.3% tonight. That's a fall of 28 points to close at 10,058. The New Zealand dollar is buying at 66.2 US cents, 94.6 to the Australian and 50.8 British pence.
Thanks, Madison. Madison Reedy with Business News.